And on the left-hand side, we have Mitchell Whitteh, and he is playing Red Black Zombies. Fairly straightforward list. 4 Blood Artists, 2 Falcon Wrath Aristocrat, 2 Fume Spitter, and a Miser's Bonfire of the Damned, Sign in Blood, which I know Jared T was advocating at least in a more birthing pod-oriented zombie list to sort of have more gas and to give you something to do on turn 2 and so on. Go for the Throat, Tragic Slip, Brimstone Volley, and Mortipod.
Okay, so you're pretty standard Black-Red Zombies deck, and Thea is going to start off with a Avacyn's Pilgrim, and we will see a Gravecrawler over from Mitchell. Thea, for those of you guys who don't know her at home, married to a gentleman named Justin Treadway. He does some artistic work for shirts in the Magic community, that sort of thing. They're also a huge cube enthusiast. They live up in Seattle, kind of new to the Seattle area. But I mean, names that you'll be ingrained with in the community if you live Pacific Northwest, or if you guys just know anything about Cube. They're huge cubers. So,
and if I'm a zombie player, I'm ready to go to game 2 after that start. If that's me, I'm just.
You just had enough.
I'm just done.
It takes one Blade Splicer to get you away.
On the draw, on turn 2, yeah, that's it.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep that in mind as we see Sign in Blood from Mitchell. He can draw on the gas.
Sure.
We have outs.
Okay. See how this plays out.
It's not over. He just needs a little something to drink.
Yeah. Odds that Gravecrawler presumably obviously doesn't get to block, but doesn't attack or block this game is reasonably high.
See, I have a more positive outlook for the Gravecrawler.
Really?
I can see a chump attack happening where it gets
in.
It gets in to try to trick him.
Yeah, just to keep him honest.
Yeah, just try to trick him. I see at least one turn sideways for the Gravecrawler. As we see Blade Splicer and his friend come in for 4 for Thea, knocking Mitchell down to 14 and no play, which means likely Restoration Angel incoming.
Oh, so the Gravecrawler might actually attack, but that will be that's sort of a different thing.
Look, I just said that it may turn sideways. I'm very confident that will occur. As we see a Cavern of Souls likely naming zombies, but I don't want to assume. And...
Oh no, don't do it.
And there it is. What I thought would happen did happen, and we are...
All right.
Restoration Angel is who we thought he was. Or who we thought she was.
Oh, the humanity.
Gravecrawler to the graveyard, another Golem token, along with a Restoration Angel.
So,
So from the zombie side, if you're the zombies player here, Patrick, since you love zombies, how would you be feeling here?
This would never have happened to me because I would have conceded on the second turn.
Not a positive outlook.
It wouldn't even have gotten to this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. As Mitchell is weighing his options, I mean, he has a Phyrexian Metamorph in his hand. He has a Go for the Throat, a Brimstone Volley that he's unable to cast. Of course,
just no red mana. Yeah.
This is one of the issues that we've talked about when you're playing zombies. Red mana is one issue. Also, Blade Splicer is another.
Yeah.
So, being on the draw and having this board is, for lack of a better term, insurmountable.
Yeah. See, this is sort of why I play 4 Fume Spitter, 4 Despise. It's like you actually kind of have a shot against these sort of draws.
Sure, you can at least interact a little bit.
Right. Not go like turn 1 Gravecrawler, turn 2 pick up my cards.
Because we have a Diregraph Ghoul.
Ding.
And I go for the
Take that.
As Thea will untap with a pretty good looking board presence.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You're just so defeatist. It's a game of Magic. Anything can happen.
Sometimes that's not true.
We see an attack here for 8 from Thea, bringing Mitchell down to 6. She's representing another... Okay, not another Restoration Angel. This looks like an Elvish Visionary we'll see here.
Okay.
Getting us an additional card deeper into our deck. Cavern of Souls, the draw step. And passes it back to Mitchell. Mitchell, hope and a prayer.
It's a Blood Artist.
Your favorite?
Not my favorite.
No, not your favorite.
I mean, this game is not Blood Artist's fault, to be fair.
Yeah, you can't blame the loss on Blood Artist. You can't. You can blame the loss on Blade Splicer.
If he had drawn the Walking Corpse that is in my deck instead, it wouldn't be like, oh, now we're cooking with gas. we got a shot here.
Touche. I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, so I try to keep it I try to be honest about what's going on here. All right, so we have a metamorph here. I'm assuming this is copying a splicer.
Splicer, yes.
Yep.
It's going to knock Mitchell down to 4. I'm not entirely sure what that other cavern has named. All right, it's just going to be a zombie.
Yep.
Gravecrawler into play. And still a tough spot for Mitchell here.
This is a tough row to hoe for sure.
Thea doesn't need, I would say if Thea has anything, she'd be able to win, but she doesn't really need much more than what she's got to be able to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, even if she just alphas, can he trade up and down at all? Like, can he put Diagraph Ghoul in front of a 1/1, Splicer Token in front of something that...
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, the humanity.
That's pretty good.
It's not so bad.
That's fine.
Not so bad. Does that resolve? It's been a long
time.
time.
It's okay, Mitchell. You don't have to slug this one out. that's quite all right to concede.
We can just play another game. It's okay.
So yeah, for as a reference point for my willingness to concede in such spots, I played against Zach Eflin in the. I'm not even sure if it was modern or extended at this point, but at Atlanta, like 2 years back maybe.
Sure.
And it's game. I don't remember which game it was. Game 1, I think, where he went turn 1 on the play, turn 1 Noble Hierarch. I have land Tattermunch Maniac. I don't have something that can kill his Hierarch.
Sure.
He goes land Hierarch. I go land Tattermunch Maniac. He goes land Kitchen Finks, and I just pack him up.
That'll do it.
That's good enough.
It takes one card to beat you.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it is like I didn't want to go through the humiliation of be like obviously I have the mandatory attack, and him tanking about like, well, do I want to kill his guy in game 2 and have a 4/3, or is it like so meaningless that I can like let it go through and then still have my 3/2 Finks, and him just like tanking about a decision where he wins the game 100% of the time regardless about which decision he selects.
Sure.
I just didn't have it in me to sit there and let that happen.
That's the old age.
So I just let it go.
The lack of fire.
I was in my 20s then, man. It wasn't. I wasn't old at that point. All right, sideboard time.
What's Mitchell got?
He's got some Arc Trails, some Despises, some Verdicts. I mean, he has different sort of removal that he can bring in. He has Smelt if he wants to try to fight Birthing Pod / Splice like Golem tokens that way, and he has a Metamorph to copy Thea's higher quality creatures.
Okay. On Thea's end, 3 Celestial Purges, Public Enemy #1, of course. An additional Huntmaster of the Fells to bring in 2 Pillar of Flames.
So like a real sideboard for the matchup.
Yes,
too.
just decided I'm not losing to this deck.
Yeah.
And if you make that decision pre-tournament, you're likely going to beat zombies.
Yeah.
But I mean, she's probably gonna be boarding in 6. I don't see any reason to board in the additional Bonfire or the Manic Vandal. No need for Crushing Vines or Grudge. No need for the Zealous Conscripts. The Stinger Fling Spider potentially. He does have Falconwrath Aristocrat, so it's a nice hedge against that card. Just because 5 toughness, it's a 4 power flyer, and that's pretty much it. I mean, her deck is geared pretty well to be able to beat Mitchell's deck.
Why would you want to bring in the other Bonfire?
I have found that Bonfire is not particularly good against zombies. It is like kind of mediocre. If you're miracling it, it's fine. It can get you into some trouble. Just because of Blood Artist and some other things like that. It's like pretty mana intensive card, especially when you're on the draw. If you're on the play, it's okay. Sure. But Bonfire is best when it's alongside Mana Accelerants, and Zombies wants to kill Mana Accelerants.
Yeah.
So you're never gonna have that 5 mana on turn 3 to be like, hey, Bonfire for 2, like kill your stuff. Like it just doesn't really happen very often.
Sure.
But if there's any hope for Mitchell, and obviously he doesn't know this because he doesn't have the deck list in front of him. There are only 3 Blade Splicers instead of 4.
Okay.
There are only 2 Huntmasters in Thea's main deck, but she'll be boarding in the 3rd one instead of having access to 4.
So I'm assuming she's a full 4 Birthing Pods then, because she's like sort of shaved out some of these numbers.
She is the full 4 Birthing Pod. She only has 1 Thragtusk in her 75. So, I mean, she does have Wormcoil Engine, which is, kind of a pain.
Just as good.
But, I mean, there is some hope that, maybe she just won't have like a Blade Splicer early and that he can overrun her. It's not impossible.
I mean, the Birthing Pod decks can definitely draw. I mean, certainly ones that are this all in on Birthing Pod can absolutely draw like these unwieldy hands that you can kind of run over. But if if she has a good mix of early spot removal and a good curve, with or without birthing pod, I believe that she's favored.
I would agree with you.
Like I said, as a zombie player, this is the matchup I want to see least of all the normal standard decks.
Of course, especially when someone is dedicating sideboard slots to beat you as well.
Yeah.
When you see Celestial Purges, how about that? When they go to their sideboard and they're reaching with a half smile,
7 cards or whatever.
Yeah. They're not only do they just crush you game 1, but they're reaching for their box. They're yep, don't mind if I do.
Right.
Purges and anything else.
And
yeah.
Better targets for pod, or just get to shave out some of the garbagey targets.
But I mean, this is all part of choosing to play zombies, and for the past couple of weeks, people have walked in the tournaments choosing to play zombies with a lot of success.
Yep.
And now the people have realized that it's a real deck, and that it can beat a small amount of hate, but not a ton of hate. People are just well, enough is enough.
Yep. It looks like Mitchell's hand's pretty land heavy there. They're both going back.
Okay.
He had he was shuffling around at least 4 lands, Fume Spitter. So and he had red mana too. So the issue was definitely way too much mana.
Sure.
His deck is playing 23 lands, so most lists are either 22 or 23.
Do you think a mulligan favors either player here?
I guess I would, if I was mulliganing 6, I would rather be the zombie player because because of the way the pod deck is, it has a higher likelihood of drawing into hands that don't go anywhere, or awkward hands, or top heavy hands, whereas the zombie deck is likely to mulligan and just some lands and some castable spells.
Sure.
The pod deck has a higher failure rate on opening hands because just the nature of the deck.
Okay. And Mitchell also does have 3 copies of Sign and Blood in his deck too, so that can undo a mulligan relatively easily.
So yeah, I know Sign and Blood. Well, Sign and Blood makes a lot of sense to me in the pod decks version of the zombies, because it's worth slowing yourself down a little bit because you have a powerful angle that you can go to. I like it a lot less in theory in the decks that are just I'm a curve of zombies with Sign and Blood.
Sure.
I mean, I understand some of the motivation because you have so little to do on turn 2 that it's casting Sign and Blood on turn 2 is fine or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would rather load up on as many 1-mana spells as possible and try to go 1/1/1 on 2 than Sign and Blood, I think.
You want to have something around 12 1-drops, 4 Gravecrawlers, 4 Diagraph Ghouls, 4 Fume Spitters.
Yeah, mine also. Yeah, I also have Despise and Pillar of Flame.
Sure.
So I'm just trying to load up on stuff to do as much as possible.
I mean, your zombies is at its best in the early game. It doesn't want to go late, so you just want to crush your opponents in the early game.
Right.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I don't like these the Falconwraith Aristocrat. I mean, that card's kind of fine on its own because it can just be a 4-ball, but all these fidgety sort of I'm playing this late game deck 2 cards in these decks just don't make that much sense to me because the other decks in the format just overpower you, even if you do draw if you draw your Metamorph against pod, it's still not even good, even if it lands against a good target.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't quite buy it, but these lists are pretty stock, so they're the ones that are getting played. So you can't argue with success.
You're trying to be an innovator.
Yeah.
Thea is going to mulligan down to 5, which is not ideal, especially against zombies. Just the aggression that zombies provides. She doesn't have a card in her sideboard like Timely Reinforcements or something to undo a mulligan.
Yeah.
Her mulliganing to 5 is she's going to have to run pretty good now to undo this mulligan. Going to be a little bit more reliant on her mana creatures, and with how much spot removal Mitchell has in his deck, a mana creature's not going to live long.
Yeah, although with the exception of Messenger and Aristocrat, the zombie deck is actually just kind of generally low on power. So even just drawing a random Blade Splicer or a random Huntmaster is worth certainly more than 1 card out of the zombie deck. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You can also make up your mulligans that way.
Sure.
Or if Mitchell just doesn't draw any of his high impact cards, if you're just drawing a bunch of Diagraph Ghouls and random removal that may or may not work, you can still win these games. Being a 5-card hand is definitely not the game's definitely over.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Especially because Thea is on the draw too.
Yeah.
So undoing it just a little bit that way.
Right. But yeah, this is a lot different than the other lists we've seen so far today. It looks like Hetrix lists are sort of the ones we've been seeing a lot of, the just very lean, not very fancy pod chains, and this is one of sort of a more classic birthing pod deck.
Yeah, just a lot of splashy things that it can do.
Right. Okay, and we're off.
All right. No turn 1 play. I see a Birds over there for Thea. We'll see if she can cast it, and she can.
He's got some slips in his list. He just ripped a Fume Spitter.
We see a Dragon Skull summon as well, so Mitchell does have his red mana. And Fume Spitter is going to take care of it. All right.
And he has a Smelt in his hand too, so we did decide to bring those in.
Now, always the danger of bringing in a card like Smelt in a matchup like this is, you know, you don't want to dilute your deck too much.
Right. The danger is that you might draw it, and now here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, you dilute your deck. You dilute your deck so much that, you know, it's a card that you don't want to mulligan, but at the same time, it doesn't do anything unless they actually draws the card that it does something against. As we see a Geralf's Messenger from Mitchell.
Although I think that she has Metamorph and Pod in hand, I think. So Smelt might actually be reasonable this game.
I believe she also has a Borderland Ranger in her hand too, so I mean, lands aren't going to be an issue. We'll see Borderland Ranger.
So is his hand just lands and Smelt?
He has a Smelt, he has a Cavern of Souls, and he has a black card. I believe the black card is Diagraph Gold, but I'm not 100% positive.
Okay. Is it not a slip? I thought I saw it. Searches for a Plains. Again, doing some of the amount of work of undoing the mulligan.
Yep. And there are, as you said, there are definitely cards in Birthing Pod decks that undo mulligans relatively well.
Yep.
Borderland Ranger, Pun Master of the Fells, Blade Splicer, those are cards that definitely undo mulligans against a deck like Zombies. So.
Yeah. Inferno Titan. Worth certainly more than one card.
If we can get there,
yeah.
if we can get there, it's definitely worth more than one card. Restoration Angel, that's not supposed to be there. All right.
Yep.
We're gonna fix that small problem.
Yeah, it fell out while he was shuffling there.
But he already knew
Yep.
that she had that, so it's not like a big deal now, is it?
Yeah. Just got a text from Billy Marino. Sounds like you have post-traumatic stress disorder. Just a blade splicer around every corner. Listen, I'm only rattled because it's happened enough times.
You think you'd be used to it by now? It shouldn't happen.
You never get used. Every time it happens, you're like, why am I not playing with that card?
Yeah.
What am I doing with all these stupid 2-1s in my deck?
You draw off Messenger coming across, knocking Thea down to 15.
Yep.
Any follow-up? And Mitchell really needs one. He
Yeah,
needs something to keep pressuring Thea.
Yeah.
There's a Cavern of Souls, naming Zombies. So there's a Gravecrawler.
So I think his hand now is just land, Smelt.
100% Smelt, not 100% on the other card.
And there's Celestial Purge.
And
so.
it is a Swamp.
Yeah. So.
You can even make the argument that like a card like Celestial Purge is like worth more than one card too.
Yeah, because you have so many things that like again, the zombie deck only has so many cards that actually matter contextually. You know what I mean? It's like, as a Birthing Pod player, would you take a mulligan to 6 to remove every copy of Geralf's Messenger from your opponent's deck? Like,
of course.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Because so many of their other cards just don't matter that much.
Yep.
It's the only thing that gives them enough power. I'm not saying like they draw and get to discard it. Like, no, it's just out of their deck they get to play 56 cards.
Sure.
Like, you would take a mulligan for that, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Without question. Hey, it's just gonna pass. Leave Purge up. Mitchell draws a card looking for that Bonfire.
So that was another Gravecrawler, I believe. It's either Gravecrawler or Traffic Slip. From a distance, the artwork sort of looks similar.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a thing. It's up to no good.
There's our Purge, up to no good. Bang.
Bang.
It's a Gravecrawler.
Yep. So this is rough if she's going to elect to block.
No, she'll just happily take 2.
Well, she wasn't going to block, then she probably, I would have attacked.
Sure.
The Gravecrawler, yeah. It's one or the other.
We'll see Gravecrawler 2 come here. We'll see if he plays a land. Elects not to, so he's just still holding Swamp and a Smelt.
It's a Strangleroot, guys.
That is
very good here.
Incredibly good.
She has Pod in hand, so I mean, she could just spin this into a Huntmaster.
4 mana. Considering her options, and she does have a couple of, you know, she needs to figure out what line of play she wants to make as Birthing Pod resolves, and she's going to sacrifice. Well, it's gonna have to. You're gonna have to.
Yeah, you gotta wait,
gonna get
man.
an activation out of that for sure.
So that's pretty rough to show too, because that clearly is going to influence what she wants to get now that she knows that that her pod's not sticking around.
Absolutely. And we're gonna get Huntmaster of the Fells.
No, you don't get priority.
Yeah.
I think he thinks because it's a sorcery that he has an opportunity to like blow it up before she gets to use it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. It's on the stack. It resolves. She has priority again. Then the first action she can take is using Birthing Pod and going from there.
Correct, and then he can blow it up. So he never does get priority back to have the opportunity to blow it up before she can do something with it.
Right.
Which is likely what the table judge is explaining to him right now.
Yep. And again, this is sort of what I'm talking about, you know, with Smelt. This is like about as good as you can expect Smelt to be in these games, and it was still like, this still isn't good. Like, it probably would have been better just attacking her while she was fumbling around than holding the Smelt, even though you did actually get to blow up a Birthing Pod.
Yeah. You know, the thing is you're always going to get your value out of your Birthing Pod, and then once you get the value out of it, then, you know, the value has already been too much, especially against a deck like Zombies that doesn't, you know, build any incremental advantages. It's just like, all right, got to kill you as fast as I can, got to kill you, and that's all I can do. Yeah.
I think because of things like Gravecrawler, Mortipod, and, you know, cloning Jarlath's Messenger, it gives you this illusion that you can be fancy with the deck, because you have, like, elements of having an engine-y sort of thing, or elements of having some degree of inevitability. I think that stuff's kind of just an illusion in most matchups. Like, that's not where the strength of the deck is coming from.
Yeah.
And now he actually doesn't have any spells he can cast, so Huntmaster's going to flip.
Correct.
Assuming that, you know, she doesn't block or whatever.
Yeah, the only way that it doesn't flip is if they opts to block, which she doesn't.
I mean, he's got to send both his guys, right?
I mean,
they don't block. They don't block. So
yeah, they don't block, and it looks
this
like
attack's actually fine. You get to connect for 4.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm him, he's obviously in a very poor situation for himself, but he also still has to give himself the best opportunity to win.
Yeah.
Okay, and he is attacking with both of them. Sure.
So this actually allows him to cast a Gravecrawler, right?
Yes.
To prevent the Huntmaster from flipping?
Yeah, so this is much better for him. So now Thea's going to draw. Looks like she drew another Birthing Pod.
Oh boy. So what can we move up to? What can we do at 5?
The 5s that we can go to Thragtusk, we can go to Geist Honored Monk, we can go to Zealous Conscript, so we can go to Acidic Slime, depending on how she's sideboarded.
I like going to a Thragtusk here.
I love going through a Thragtusk here. And she's going to sacrifice Huntmaster of the Fells. This looks like we're going to go to Thragtusk land, my friends.
And let's see if it's. Assume this does not get sideboarded out.
Here's Johnny.
Bang.
Moving Thea up to 14. Mitchell being put in a situation where the attacks are relatively poor. He will be able to get in for 2 this turn and get his other Gravecrawler back that gets blocked, but he's in a rough situation because now the pod land is going to start going. His options at 6 are Warm Coil Engine, Inferno Titan, and then the option at 7 is Elish Norn. So things are getting bad fast.
This was bad, but it does, believe it or not, it does get worse.
Yes. And it's hard to believe now that where we're at in this game, as Mitchell draws a Blood Artist, it's hard to believe that Thea mulligan to 5 this game.
Yep. So, I mean, I assume, again, we're just going to cast our Blood Artist and attack, get in for 3. Effectively 3.
Here they
If
come.
it's somewhere, if it's in the deck, This is going to be a mighty fine Inferno Titan.
If it is in the deck, it's going to be pretty good. Would you take 3 damage to kill those 3 guys?
Sure, I guess. Yeah, I guess I would.
Bold.
I don't know, it's controversial.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
Actually, have to take 4, because he has to sacrifice a guy.
Yep.
Excuse me, she has to sacrifice a guy to be able to get the Inferno Titan, so...
So I guess it's arguable you actually don't... I guess you're still supposed to kill the Grave Crawlers? I don't know.
Aware options. I think option number 1 is just attack.
Definitely got a bash.
4 manars. Phyrexian Metamorph.
All right, not bad.
All right, copy the Thragtusk. Move up to 15 and attack.
Now we're totally comfortable in terms of the. It was actually a little hairy before.
Yeah, definitely.
But now,
especially if
we're,
one of the cards is Brimstone Volley.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you can't cast Brimstone Volley, but
right.
you know, it was something where you had to consider a decision.
Yeah.
Where now it's just like, it's like pretty easy. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's still gonna take 6. 2 from the pod, one from the Thragtusk trigger, or excuse me, the Blood Artist trigger, because Thragtusk is being sacrificed. And then if she does opt to Inferno Titan, she would take 3 more damage. But if she does opt to get Wurmcoil Engine, she will take no damage, and that will likely be Game Boys.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you had to. In theory, you had to play around Zealous Conscripts. I guess
it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
Some of these lists have it, and some of them don't.
I think this line of play is just better than the Inferno Titan line of play.
Like, I'm pretty sure the winning deck from last week did have Zealous Conscripts in the sideboard.
Okay. So 2 mana. We see a Sign in Blood.
Okay.
Looking for something.
Aristocrat Sign in Blood.
That's actually not terrible.
Yeah.
Aristocrat is something that he can cast. He can get in.
I mean,
it's still.
The problem is still that we're just like, what on earth are we going to be doing about Wurmcoil Engine?
Well,
I guess you just block and sack.
Yeah, you can block with Blood Artist and sack for a turn. I mean, it's going to buy you some time. You know, if Thea has Elishnorn in her deck still, then then
you just attack and then it's just game over.
Well, you can do that, or you can attack with the Wurmcoil Engine first and then Elishnorn, or you can do it pre-combat, sacrifice the Wurmcoil Engine to get it to like kill all this stuff.
So you had to attack with you had to attack first to like basically put the impetus on Mitchell to get rid of the Blood Artist before you move on from here.
Sure.
That's got to be the first order of business.
Well, also, she's at Mitchell's at 11. So if Thea sacrifices the Wurmcoil Engine pre-combat to get Elishnorn, it's going to turn the.
Oh, it's actually lethal. Yeah, because he's still got the Thragtusk. Sorry, I missed the Metamorph off screen.
So it'll turn the Thragtusk, the Phyrexian Metamorph Thragtusk into a 7-power creature, the Beast into a 5-power creature, and the Bird into a 2-power creature. The triggers for
so
Blood
it's
Artist.
6, 11. So it's +6. 11, 14, and then he's going up to 12. I mean, yeah, it's not lethal, but like he actually can't really like play Magic anymore once this happens.
Yeah. It's not lethal this turn, but the damage is done, basically. Now, she's going to kill 3 creatures. This is interesting. 3 creatures are going to die. Or, excuse me, 4 creatures are going to die, so there's going to be 4 triggers in this deck. So, down to... Mitchell's going to go up to 15. Thea's going to go down to 5.
Yep.
And we know that Mitchell has a Sign in Blood in his hand. So there is a series of draws.
It basically needs
Brimstone Volley.
It basically needs to be Sign in Blood into Sign in Blood into 1-drop plus Brimstone Volley.
I believe so. Let me see what this card is. Stringer.
Oh, I think that's got it.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I believe that's going to do it.
Okay, that's lethal.
That's going to do it. Okay. Just trying to... Calculating the outs is always fun.
Yeah, but otherwise I believe he has Sign in Blood into 1-drop, which will just die to Elishnorn plus Brimstone Volley.
I think the problem would have been is he was at 15. Metamorph being 7 power is going to put him down to 8. Beast token is going to put him down